Hello, folks. It's Hillbilly EDU again. Back with more mockery of our so-called educational system. In this episode, I'm going to expound on some information that belies the all Earth model, thus dealing with the specifics of the lunar and solar eclipses, which I've gone through in previous episodes of this playlist and described how, beginning here in this video, the eclipse is the actual sign of Jonah, the prophet. Again, in order to prophesy, you have to predict something in advance. The modern day churches, you'll never hear any of this in Sunday school, will attempt to tell you that it is foreshadowing of Jesus, with him being in the belly of a whale or a fish for 3 days, analogous to Jesus being dead for 3 days. Jesus said the only sign given would be the prophet of Jonah. And he was on the cross right here. The sun darkened. Solar eclipse could not have occurred on or near Passover when Jesus was crucified, right? Because it would have been too brief to account for the 3 hours of darkness. Again, folks, it's not the moon blocking the sun, it's something else. I'll prove that to you. Bear with me. Various videos through this playlist I've gone through. I think this was the last one, showing you how this doesn't match up with observation. That over here, old Fred, who's in charge of all the eclipse predictions for NASA, now retired, has a historical section. He talks about the Old Testament, and it says, "And on that day, says the Lord God, I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight." And he claims that corresponds with a cross-reference of this historical eclipse by known as the canon, right? It has an eclipse canon. Again, Ptolemy deciphered that 18 years after this date here was the first time the ancient Chaldean astronomers, if you will, the wise men of the Bible, recorded meticulously from that date forward the solar and lunar eclipses. Again, it occurred in Nineveh, so it must have been related to the book of Jonah. That must be why they repented. Not as this man states with that Bible verse, because that is from Amos 8, verse 9. Declares God, I will make the sun go down at noon and darken the earth in broad daylight. But in reality, it's this here. Behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord God, when I will send a famine on the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst of water, but of hearing the words of the Lord. You're not going to hear this truth in Sunday school. So let's get into it. First, God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. And as I've stated, the sun, being occulted by the moon, couldn't create 3 hours of darkness. Look here, Revelation 6:12, the sun became as black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. All at the same time? That doesn't correlate to your all earth lie about how this occurs, people. And then right here, Matthew 16:4, Jesus said, a wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign. There shall no sign be given unto it, but the sign of the prophet Jonah. July 31st, I believe, 2000. This is not visible here where I live in Denver. But if you see here in Salem, Oregon, that eclipse was seen July 30th, 2000. I want to show it to you. Note the direction they're facing, people. Northwest. Now the 2017 solar eclipse, they didn't face that direction. See, then the sun set. Salem, Oregon. That's where this is transpiring. Look at the direction they're looking. Salem, Oregon. Now look here. August 21st, 2017. Go back again. Show you the eclipse right here. Up near the North Pole, if you will. Partial. They saw it, but what direction did they look at? Right? Facing northwest. However, 2017, the same spot for that eclipse, which went directly over them, which way were they facing? East, southeast, looking south. It's directly over their head. Look at the direction it comes from the north. But they're looking south. Over here, see a partial? We're looking north. And again, from the same place, Salem, Oregon, the annular eclipse of 2023, it passed just south of them. The center line did. We're looking east, southeast. It came from the north. But in reality, the entire thing is south of them. Think about it, folks. None of this makes sense on ball Earth. April 8th, 2024. Same place, Salem, Oregon. Southeast. This one comes from the south.
Allow me to first mention the reason I came to go through this type of information. Many of you already know, Prussian educational system created in the late 1800s was as a result of the warriors for Germany retreating during the Napoleonic Wars. So they created this educational system based on the students do not question told. Knowing that most of our world's education is run on this type of system, here in America, we know it is the Rockefeller educational system. It all came around the early 1900s. Excuse me. In order to get away from that, tried to get information regarding eclipses prior to that system, wherein they began the systematic brainwashing all Earth model, all the educational material. But here in 1887, the German canon of eclipses was first put together by this Theodore fellow, and I believe 8 others. So it organized a group of human computers to divide the task of calculating 8,000 solar eclipses and 5,200 lunar eclipses. For each solar eclipse, points were calculated for the begin, end, and midpoint of eclipse, and circular arcs were drawn between the 3 points, resulting in considerable inaccuracies in geographic locations of these eclipses. That's the claim. Personally, I've tried to do this on a Gleason's map, and it makes more sense on the Gleason maps, and it creates these circular arcs than Ball Earth map, where you see sine wave type patterns, which doesn't make much sense. Anyhow, going on. They claim that the fact that the table of map contains exactly 50 eclipses explains why the span are regular intervals of about 20 years plus or minus a year or two. So right here, whoever put this out, they're trying to discredit his work, in essence, claiming it's not accurate. But in reality, he got the 8,000 solar eclipses are only central line. They're not partial. No partial eclipses is included. Neither are any preumbra lunar eclipses. So that's one explanation for the discrepancy between the two. And then after they've told you how it's not very good, and then they show you a slideshow here, tell you can download a little clearer version. You can't see anything. It's all no dates and whatnot. This fella here, Fred Hispanic, said to us by NASA to be responsible for all the predictions by NASA. He's since retired. And he modified this or pinned it in 2021, and he's saying pretty much what I've already told you. From this time period here, he gathered the 8,000 solar and 5,200 lunar. And central line eclipses, like I said, total, annular, and hybrids only, no partial. His canon remained the seminal reference on predictions of eclipses until well into the 20th century. So, how inaccurate is that? Question. And if it's so wildly inaccurate, why are they selling a reprint from 1962 for $368? Just questions, folks. You might want to stick around for the answer. Look here from Harvard EDU, some information that I was looking for that doesn't go along with our Ball Earth model. And as I've already stated in earlier videos in this playlist, Prove All Things, the Jesuit Reformation, or Counter-Reformation, if you will. So this fella, Williams, in 1871, gives Chinese stellar maps copied from a Chinese work in the Library of University College of London, which is a very exhaustive work on the subject. It must always be considered the highest value. All the above, however, are probably from sources subsequent to the Jesuit expedition to China in the 17th century. In many cases, the planisphere in question differs from these texts. See? Imagine that. Wrote about it, and the actual planisphere is different than the text that the Jesuits found or came back with. Anyhow, for the above reasons, I think it may be interesting to offer to the society a description of the instrument. The planisphere or map of the heavens is about 9.5 inches in diameter. It is a quasi-polar equidistant projection, meaning it only has one pole of the sphere. This notion that this is a, quote, quasi-polar equidistant projection of the sphere is a mere whitewash of history, folks. Look at the timeline in which it was taken or made. 1871, Williams did this work. Around that time, they created this cannon in Germany, which only extends about the same distance. And then 1892, you had the Gleason's map, which only goes out to what, 70? There is no South Pole. Circular paths over a flat Earth map, one pole, versus sine wave patterns on a ball Earth is one anomalous detail. But the fact that you've changed terminology from calling it a eclipse window to now calling it eclipse season to accommodate more solar and lunar eclipses than you should otherwise see according to your model. Something else. Now, let's get into this guy's maps here. It's very illuminating, I believe. Especially when you compare it to the Gleasons. Now remember, he started working on this in 1868. It's published in 1887. You can see minus 90 correlates to this minus 90 here. But then here we go 105. And he goes 100. But if you pay attention to right here, the detail, you're a little bit off from the location of his map. So here's the midpoint at noon, which is what this white circle refers to on his map. The dark circle means midnight. The light arrow is where it starts and the dark arrow is where it ends. 2023, October 14th, generally went this way, but instead of coming off the east or the west coast here like that, it came up over the four corners. So his start and end point's a little bit off, but that's because his map is not very accurate with the landmass compared to the Gleasons, which was created in 1892. And it doesn't go far enough south to pick up New Zealand, much of Australia. There's the northern half of Australia, as you can see here. Other than that, I thought the detail of this map very interesting, to say the least. And we can clearly see the dates are marked on it. Some anomalies here. 2016 starts this way, goes over here at noon, it's right here. Okay? And then it ends right near the North Pole. This one here, 2021, starts out somewhere in Canada, looks like. And then at midnight, crosses the North Pole. And then it ends over here. Very interesting paths. And if you translate all this, this means where it starts. This is where doom ends. And then this is the noon event. And this is where it is at midnight.
Get your total, you get your ring of fire, and then you get your ring of fire and total or hybrid eclipse. This one here starts out in North Dakota. Look, 2 endpoints, no start. Thought that was interesting as well. This one starts out in New York, goes this way, midnight near the North Pole, and then ends over there. Starts out 6 a.m., travels this direction. So much for Earth rotation out the North Pole. 2079, I believe it is. Let me zoom in. Yep, 2079. May 1st, I think. 2079. Love to see if this would work out on the ball Earth model. Given the direction we're looking at, 6 a.m. starts out in New York City, like I said, 2079. Goes up over Greenland, then ends in between Alaska and Russia after midnight. Right here, 6 a.m., New York City, May 1st. Okay. Comes up above the horizon. Are they looking east? No, they're looking northeast. Why north? That's the way the path's going. Even though the solar point would be to the south, correct? Look here. The sun is actually rising over here in Africa. They're facing northeast to see it. So, I don't know, folks. Does that make sense to you? My limited research has led me to conclude that these smiley face paths or rainbow type short eclipse paths belie the model. Allow me to show you this for an example. If Earth is a ball, this is the North Pole, the sun's right here. This eclipse should start out here and go there. It actually starts here, goes that direction. That belies your ball Earth model. If you recall part 3, Curveball Earth mockumentary, Alex here, the explainer from NASA, tells us that the moon travels from west to east, and that's how he explained total solar eclipse path 2017 going in this general direction from west to east. So much like here in 2045 on this map from this 1800s book, Canon, by the German. Again, the clear arrow is where it starts, the dark arrow is where it ends, and you can see the lightened circle is high noon, a darkened circle is midnight, as I've told you. The anomalies are easy to see on this map. We got 2 dark arrows. There is no circle, so no noon, no midnight. So which way does it start? There it is, Dickinson, North Dakota. See, it's UTC time. Go over here to time and date. So you're near Dickinson, North Dakota. Right there. Where are they facing? They're facing west. The sun's over there.
That makes sense. Look at the time, 6:52 p.m. Total solar eclipse starts in Dickinson. Reaches maximum of 7:45. Then the sun sets. Then we're over here. Starts at 11 p.m. They're facing northwest, but the sun's to the south. Again, here's your ball earth map. And then I'm going to tell you, this is your real map. This is the direction the sun was over. Think about it. Wake up from the lies. The best version of this that I was able to find over here on archive.org still contains missing maps. See that? Page 545. We'll go to 547. So you are missing some information. Perhaps that's why they want $368 for the reprint of this, so you get these missing pages on the map. But you can see enough information here to find the anomalies. Prove paths don't match ball